m'appelle Edmond Zaidi et aujourd'hui, je propose de vous présenter un survol des activités en lien avec le support que je peux fournir, à savoir analyse force-faiblesse, révision des résultats d'apprentissage de programme et cartographie cours PLO. J'utiliserai un mélange de français et d'anglais tout en essayant d'éviter les répétitions. Mais si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à m'interrompre au cours de la présentation. Alors, voici le fameux monstre dont on parle et qui demande beaucoup de travail et d'échange de courriel. Et une question que je reçois souvent, c'est que Edmond, c'est quoi ton rôle exactement? Comment est-ce que tu peux nous appuyer dans ces activités? Eh bien, j'ai le plaisir de répondre que je peux vous fournir un appui pour les trois activités que je viens de vous lire. La dernière partie, le course PLO mapping, en fait, nous utilisons comme substitut partiel pour l'analyse curriculaire. Donc, on ne va pas faire une analyse curriculaire comme c'est la définition qui est. On va faire une partie de cette analyse qui est la cartographie cours PLO. Et la question suivante que j'ai, c'est quels sont les liens enfin, entre ces activités et ce rapport? Eh bien, to be honest, the relationships are far from being linear, which means that each section of the three parts that I will be providing support for are going to address one or two or three or more sections, not in a linear way. For example, the strength and weakness analysis may inform multiple sections of the self-evaluation report, as you may see. But if we move to the phase in which we are going to start from tomorrow on, the revision of program learning outcomes, as well, you can see that it is going to affect more than one section and not in a kind of consecutive way. Moving to course PLO mapping, it's even more complicated. So this is a spaghetti, I would call it, which may add to some confusion, but I will be here to explain to you step by step what is that we are doing, how we are going to do it, especially taking out all the fluff that is around this, and we will be together in this. Now, a question that I get very often is the issue of timelines and sequencing of the activities, which is indeed an important consideration. Now, in a typical situation, we would begin with a strength and weakness analysis or SWOT to gain a better understanding of the program or programs from the stakeholders' perspective. When we say stakeholder, we have four categories of stakeholders that are mandated by OCAV: students, alumni, faculty, and support staff. Now, you may or may not add employers, members of professional associations, and other categories, but these four are mandated, we need to follow them. Then this information will feed a report, will be summarized, synthesized in a report. I will explain this, how this is going to work. And the results and the insights that are generated by this report will inform the revision of the PLOs. So the revision of the PLOs does not have to wait until everything is done here. So this is what we are doing. But due to the lack of resource, there is so much parallelism that we can do. So we cannot do everything in full parallel. So this is why we are kind of staggering and we are starting PLO revisions now. And then we are going to look at the status of the strength and weakness analysis to see how these two can be interconnected. Once your PLOs have been revised, or once your PLOs have been created, as Leslie mentioned, I'm still faced with some cases where they say we don't have any program learning outcomes. Well, whether they are revised or created, these PLOs will be fed into the next step, which is the course PLO mapping. So the course PLO mapping is going to show how much there is alignment between the courses So by courses, obviously, we mean in graduate work, thesis, seminars, etc. All of these is a course, anything that has a code with the program learning outcomes. Because remember, the program learning outcomes are the foundational block of any curriculum. And these will obviously be reflected in the self-evaluation report. So in terms of timeline, you see the big arrow, the gray arrow. It's really the selection of the gray color is not random. It's gray area. There are lots of factors coming into play to fix the amount of time that is needed for each. I just give you a very small, we're not going to dive into the details, but just give you a small snapshot. For example, strength and weakness analysis, you may have 50 respondents. You are a small academic unit with 50 people who have responded, including profs, support staff, etc. Or you may be a huge academic unit with 400 respondents that have taken and lots of programs, etc. So the amount of work is going to depend on how busy you are and how much information we have to deal with. And we always are going to try to do our best to assist you in all respect. In March this year, we had our workshops on strength and weakness analysis, and I think many of you were present. This is the first line in the table. Tomorrow and Wednesday, we are going to have another workshop, this time on PLO revision. You can think of this workshop as an onboarding. The content is identical for both workshops, so please select one of those according to your time schedule. This is where we are going to be really deep in the details of the process. Since there is a myriad of details, I strongly and sincerely encourage you to attend either the French or the English version of these workshops, for which you should have all received invitations from our team here today. If you haven't done so, please feel free to email me or any team member, Danny, Graciela, so that we can provide you with the invitation letter. Finally, from October 6th to October 7th, so just in a week time, I'm going to offer a series of training short course. This is a 3-hour short course spread over multiple sections and 2 sessions in order to form the designated persons that you would have designated, your academic unit would have designated, to develop the report for the strength and weakness analysis. In a nutshell, there's lots of data and there is a process to produce this report. We think it's much more cost effective and efficient for one student, generally graduate student, but this could be an undergraduate student also, that comes and gets trained in order to produce this report, which will contain as faithfully as possible, and that would be my role, to coach them, to train them, to check all of these criteria, so that the result, the output, is as faithful as possible to what your stakeholders had to say. And remember, the results is going to feed the PLO revision as well as your action plan at the end of the self-evaluation report. Julie, allez-y.
Oui, désolé.
Non, allez-y.
La personne désignée pour les cours que tu viens de mentionner qui sont la semaine prochaine, cette semaine même?
C'est la semaine prochaine. On commence le 6 octobre, oui.
Est-ce qu'ils sont déjà avisés?
Oui, et je pense que pour votre unité, nous avons une personne déjà. Je ne me rappelle pas exactement de son nom, mais je me rappelle que nous avons une personne.
C'est Laurine, c'est juste parce qu'elle me disait qu'elle n'avait pas eu de nouvelles. Mais bon, si c'est confirmé, c'est bon. OK.
Oui,
merci.
Oui, pas de souci. Je vous en prie. So where are we at the strength weakness analysis? So you see, I use 2 terminologies. I use SWOT, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats, and strength weakness analysis. The reason is that we have moved from the full SWOT, that was a heavy process. Who says heavy says lengthy, to a lighter process, which is based on standard questions. And we don't have opportunities and threats anymore. We have strength, weaknesses analysis. The Office of Program Evaluation is of the opinion that this is sufficient enough, and this is a good compromise between quality and amount of effort that is involved, which I totally agree with. In a snapshot, 8 surveys have been sent out. This means that stakeholders are already partaking. There is a French and English version. The expected end of data collection is mid-October. So we have started late September, and even Friday, I think there were some surveys that were sent. So we generally give the stakeholders about 10 days, and then uh, we may extend this date depending on the feedback. We'll touch a word on that. The expected data that we collect is also expected to be processed by late November, early December. Now, if you need to know how many responses have been collected so far, or how to look the responses, you would like to know how many alumni did I have, how many. It's very easy. You just send an email to our mighty resource person, Malak Junaid, whom you should be familiar with her name. And she will be sharing 2 links with you, which will guide you. You can click at any time. These are real-time links. You can click on any time at any time, and you can see who replied, how many people replied, what did they say, etc., etc. So we'll not close a survey until you tell us to do so. So you are happy with the volume of data requested. Something that I mentioned during the workshop in March is that sometimes the amount of responses is a bit disappointing. You are expecting 100 and you see, let's say, 20 something responses. The best way would be to do a promotion of the event, explain to students, explain to professors that this is an important uh, task. This is not a formal, this is not something of a formality. This is something that we attach importance, and usually the response is good. So we see pics immediately after the academic unit sends, or during class time, you ask your professors to encourage students to reply. So what is coming next? Please do make time for the workshops. I know you are all busy, but it is extremely important because this is going to save a lot of time afterwards. Many details about the process, about the tools that we use, why we do what we do, etc., etc., are going to be shared. Again, the small table here tomorrow from 11 to 12, or Wednesday from 11 to 12 again in French and English. After the workshop, so this is, I'm going to explain more what is going to happen during tomorrow and the day after workshop. We will have a one-on-one meeting. So one-on-one means, which means myself with your academic unit, in order to discuss specific requirements. We understand that each academic unit is special, is unique, and you may have specific requirements in terms of how to look at the programs, especially timeline that we're going to try to draft together. So this is what very important, that you have these the inner workings of how we do, how we run, what are the steps, and there are lots of steps in order to be ready to draft a feasible and reasonable timeline that we work. So in a nutshell, cyclic program evaluation is a complex activity consisting of many steps. My role would be to support you with 3 of the items. So I get the question, how about the others? Well, the others, we have other team members, your committee, and we have other people who may assist you. The support is available to all academic units. We have started, for most of you, the strength and weakness analysis to identify the internal and external factors affecting your program success. I should mention that the strength and weakness analysis is different from the satisfaction survey. because in a satisfaction survey, it's more or less a hit or miss. In a strength and weakness analysis, we go deeper. These are open-ended questions, and we also ask for solutions, for insights from the stakeholders. So that is extremely crucial. Leslie, if you allow me to finish this slide, then yeah, okay. Then we move on to the PLO revision, which is based on a universal syntax, which is valid in all academic institutions. Uh, this PLO revision is going to be informed by the strength and weakness analysis and the changing environment. So your vision, what is going on? Why aren't we competitive or we are not competitive? What is missing? Just to give you a very, very small detail, for example, artificial intelligence is making kind of progress. So how are we going to tackle this? Do we need to look into that or not? Is it related to us or not? This is an iterative and collaborative process. It's not me doing the work or it's not you doing the work, it's us. Once we have the PLOs, we move on to the course PLO mapping. This step can start only when the PLOs have been revised and ready and robust. They have been validated by your academic unit. And the role of this phase is to identify any gaps or any redundancies. And I can assure you that once you revise your program learning outcomes, you will detect those. And in general, this informs the action plan, which is a crucial part of your report. Consultative process, yes, set of robust tools that have been proven during the past 5 years or so. The whole process can be done in just 4 to 6 months if perfect alignment, which means nobody goes on sabbatical, no change of mandate, all the information is there, etc., etc. We try to balance quality versus quantity. And all of this information, I was talking to one of your colleagues from chemical engineering, said that, well, the information that was gathered, he was extremely happy about the amount and the quality of the information that he had, especially during the SWOT process, in order to make the case if there is a room for funding or kind of, this does not translate, this report may not translate directly into funds, extra funds that you need to do stuff, but it translates into readiness in when there is an opportunity to apply for something, you have everything ready. Leslie, please.
I just wanted to draw your attention to that. Catherine Derry has a question about the person, the contact, what did you call it? The designated person.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
She asks, can you confirm if you were taking care of establishing the contract of the graduate student who has been designated to help with the SWOT analysis, or is the faculty responsible for that?
Yeah, the contract, I don't have any information. Maybe so far it was the domain of the academic unit. Now, Catherine, I believe that for education, I remember I have 2 names so far in my table. Don't remember exactly the names, but I have 2 names that students said these are students coming from Faculty of Education. Yeah. For the contract and the funding issues, we had discussed this before. So the position is that this is not something that the Office for Program Evaluation would be able to entertain. Am I correct, Leslie?
We've not had any role in establishing the contracts. My understanding was that this is something that the various units would discuss with their faculties and make arrangements on their end. And that's the only, I mean, this is not something that I've been involved in because Edmond is the person who leads this process. But that was my understanding is certainly we do not have any funding in the OPE. So this is something, and Edmond, this is voluntary because I know I've also spoken with certain units and entire faculties. Example for medicine, for example, said, "Oh, we don't need to have designated students do this because we're used to working with data, so we can do it ourselves." So it's not mandatory that someone have that.
Exactly. So the thing is like this. If you have a small number of respondents, you have small data, you are expecting a small database. Well, there's no point engaging a student or going through the hassle of getting one. But if you have more than 50 people entering into these are large Excel sheets or large PDF files. When I say large, this could be a PDF file of 100 pages, the output, or an Excel sheet with thousands of rows. I'm not sure whether this is a good and efficient usage of time of asking a professor who can do many other things rather than dive into this. But yeah, this is optional. This is offered. Yeah. Julie.
Oui, bonjour. We went to get someone ourselves who I did a directed reading for a student who was willing to do this. That's one idea, Catherine. The other question I had at the end, consultative process, 4 to 6 months. I'm just wondering, because I'm thinking for April 2026, how do I benefit from your services, Edmond?
Well,
Pour bouger plus vite?
Si on veut aller plus vite, il faut plus d'alignement. Alors, les jalons qui sont présentés par Leslie et notre équipe ont été conçus pour tenir compte justement des contraintes des unités académiques. Alors, contraintes, c'est-à-dire qu'en général, les professeurs ont des charges d'enseignement, de recherche et ne sont pas toujours disponibles. Donc, ce n'est pas faisable. Mais s'il y a une unité académique qui veut faire du maverick, qui veut aller très vite, nous, on va faire de notre mieux pour leur offrir notre soutien et notre... En général, jusqu'ici, c'était l'unité académique qui bloquait.
Donc, moi, je te signale que je voudrais accélérer.
Pas de souci. Pas de souci. On est là pour là. On est là pour là.
Si on peut se garder du temps, ouais.
Pas de souci.
Okay. Merci.
Edmond, I have a question. Now that Julie raises that, I have a question about it as well. And I'm wondering if that comment about 4 to 6 months under consultative processes, is that not referring to the whole diagram here, starting with
Yes.
SWA,
Yes.
PLO revision, course PLO mapping, and then the consultative process? So it's not like consultative process is the final module at the end, and it takes 4 to 6 months.
No. It's all the strength and weakness analysis, the PLO revision, the course PLO mapping. If everything is aligned, which means in an ideal world where you would have full bandwidth of academic unit and full bandwidth of myself and the team, will be done in 4 to 6 months maximum. So that's what it means. Now, any extension of these 4 to 6 months is due to the constraints that we have. Let's say one small constraint is that for one SWOT, we targeted 10 days and we had to extend it 3 or 4 times because the academic unit wanted more data and kind of reach out to more stakeholders. So instead of 10 days, we spent 1 month to collect data. So you see, there is flexibility here. Anyway.
Right. So that's why on that schedule that we put up at the beginning, we saw this process beginning now and then going on to, you've included course PLO mapping, so that would take it until the end of April next winter. And so that is the 4 to 6 month period right there, right? And yes, Julie, you're in a different situation in that you have more of your own personal time to devote for this because it's been set up that way with your unit. And so you will want to go faster. So just reach out to Edmond and talk about how to do that.
So thank you so much for your attention. Yeah. If you have any questions regarding this process, feel free to drop me a line, and especially please make time for at least one of the workshops tomorrow or Wednesday. Thanks so much. I pass over to you. I stop sharing.